All right. Time for another Nerdy Virgin podcast. My name is Joshua Snyder. I did not lose my virginity until I was 32, and I am trying to build my whole career around that fact. That's the springboard for what I like to think is a creative journey that will be unparalleled in this and any other century. Indeed, when they examine the work that I've done hundreds of years in the future, they will say, this is what you should not do, both in life and in art. Don't do any of this. Don't do what he's doing. Don't do that. So, I'd like to be a comic at some point, and or I guess I am a comic. And I want to start headlining. And so the purpose of this podcast is for me to practice just doing an hour. And I come in with absolutely nothing other than my pain. And then I release this, and 12 people listen to it. And this is what I do twice a week, every week, for as long as the internet can handle it. I do wonder if there will be a point at which the internet says, stop, just stop talking, stop. You don't need to. This is not helping the zeitgeist. You're not helping the zeitgeist. How am I feeling? I'm feeling very anxious, an enormous amount of anxiety. And it doesn't, what I'm finding is that it doesn't matter what I'm worried about. I'm always worried about something. And even if I think something is resolved, then something else comes along, and I'm obsessed about that. So I'm addicted to worrying. I'm constantly worrying. I can't ever, I'm afraid to stop worrying, because it seems like the moment I stop worrying, that's when something else bad happens. And then I have to worry about that. And the irony is, worrying doesn't help. It just makes me sick. It just makes me sick. And I don't know what to do to alleviate it. Actually, that's not true. I know exactly what to do to alleviate it. I should be meditating. I should be productive. I should be living my life. And I keep procrastinating, but I need to start going to meetings, Al-Anon or AA meetings. One of the best advice I ever got was from someone in a meeting who said, if I don't know what to do, I ask myself, what would I do if I were not afraid? And I believe if I were to ask myself that question, what would I do if I were not afraid? The answer would be, just be Vin Diesel. I would transform into Vin Diesel, but I'm too afraid to. Too afraid to transform into Vin Diesel. And having to deal with that. I am beyond freaking out. And maybe everyone is suffering from this kind of pandemic post-traumatic stress disorder. Everyone seems weird to me. And I'm weird. Granted, I'm not normal, but I don't think everyone seems weird to me. Everyone just seems a little bit weirder than usual. And it's probably to do with coming out of this feeling of being isolated, re-entering the world, but not necessarily feeling safe. I don't entirely feel safe. I just keep waiting for the CNN article that says, new variant evades the vaccines, it's over. So I am concerned. I am concerned about what I'm reading in them there CNN.com. No idea why I went into that accent. Utterly no idea. And so I'm anxious about that. Work is very stressful. I work at a comedy club, and the comedy club is open again, and we're being flooded with people wanting to get booked. And I went from booking just the virtual shows to virtual and physical shows. So there's a lot going on, a lot of stress there, and feeling a bit lonely, craving human companionship of some kind, but not sure where to find it. I don't like using... and it's not that I want to be different. I just don't like the traditional methods of meeting people. The idea of meeting someone on a dating app and then agreeing to go out onto a date. And we meet on the date, and the conversation is essentially a exchange of information and an attempt to assess the situation and determine, is this going to be a major disaster or a minor disaster? You know what? I'm reading the first... When I read the first Foundation novel, the crux of it was that it takes place far in the future, and there's this scientist, this psychohistorian, and he's come up with a way to use mathematics to predict the future. And he basically says the empire is about to fall, and if we don't take the following steps, instead of there being a dark age period of 10,000 years, if we take these steps, the dark ages will last 1,000 years. If we don't take these steps, they'll last 10,000 years. And I feel like that for me that's what dating seems like. Is this going to be horrible, or is this going to be very horrible? It seems to me that those are the only choices. And this is not a judgment on the people I'm with. It's more to do with the fact that I certainly can't live with myself. I don't know how someone else could live with me, or why they would want to, other than they have no choice. And people say to me, Josh, actually nobody says this to me because I never talk to anybody. But I imagine that people would say, oh, you're over-exaggerating or you're overreacting. And I don't think that I am. I don't think that I am. I'm not... The people who are around me because, we all work together. So I provide, hopefully, a competent service. And in exchange, they have to deal with me being neurotic. And it comes with the machinery, basically. You got the office copy machine, and sure, it makes copies, but it gets finicky when it collates. It gets finicky if you try to ask it to staple anything, then it gets high maintenance. That's pretty much how I see myself. And the fact is, it's a tool. You got to go in and use the office copy machine, but you're not spending your weekends with the copy machine. You're not saying to yourself, you know what I want to do on Saturday? I just want to go make copies, just for the sake of making copies. That is not how that works. During the weekend, the copy machine sits alone in a dark room, awaiting Monday. And that's approximately how I live my life. And as I say this, and I'm, attempting to be somewhat humorous, but there is a twinge of sadness. Let's explore this. What is this twinge of sadness? That I'm not being fair to myself. Oh, could this twinge be a twinge of confidence? That maybe there are more positive aspects to being in a relationship with me than I am letting myself be aware of. That I have a lot to offer. That I'm a good human being, a decent human being who cares about other human beings, and fights on the side of good. Definitely a Jedi, not a Sith. Could that be what I am thinking? Is that entirely possible, that is the actual truth? Or am I, in fact, a worthless slug? Or is it somewhere in between? Human beings are complex. That said, the older I get, the more I do identify with Quark from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And I know he was meant to kind of be the comic relief, but I do enjoy. I find myself thinking and saying similar things that Quark has thought and said, and I'm beginning to think that because at the end of the day, technically he was one of the good guys, technically. Technically, he was one of the good guys. Taking a moment to have some tea. Standard Emperor's Cloud tea. Standard Emperor's Cloud tea. All right, maybe it's time to look at some headlines here. Feeling, so overall, I'm feeling anxiety, and I always come back to this place of anxiety. I always come back here, and I'm too anxious to stop feeling anxious. That's where I'm at. All right, well, let's see. Heights and Rabbit open soft at the box office. In the Heights. Oh, musical. I think that's Lin Miranda, right? The other opener, Sony's long-delayed Peter Rabbit 2, The Runaway. Coming in cool with $4 million on Friday. Peter Rabbit 2, The Runaway. Long-delayed sequel. Which I feel like anyone who saw the first movie who really connected with it, who was 4, is now 6, and is ready for The Mandalorian. That could be the issue. I always want... Well, I mean, obviously, the first one must have made enough money to warrant a sequel. And Peter Rabbit. I don't know anything about Peter Rabbit. Did I even read Peter Rabbit when I was a kid? Isn't it odd that his last name is just the name of his species? Yeah, I'm Josh Human. I'm Josh Human Being. Pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to meet you, Josh Human Being. This is my associate, Sandra Human Being. This is my nephew, Reginald Human Being. Okay. There's more than one book. Okay. Oh, The Tale of Peter Rabbit. Well, what's the plot? The story focuses on the family of anthropomorphic rabbits. I think we can gather from the picture and from the whole premise that they're anthropomorphic. But thanks for throwing that in there, just to clarify. By the way, I now feel guilty that I'm making fun of the person who wrote the article. And now I feel like, what if they listen to this and they're like, hey, I'm trying to inform you. Back off, all right? I'm trying to make it clear. The widowed mother rabbit warns her 4 rabbit children, Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter, not to enter the vegetable garden of a man named Mr. McGregor, whose wife, she tells them, put their father in a pie after he entered. Her triplets, Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, obediently refrained from entering the garden. Peter's little sisters, Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, were good little bunnies and went down the lane to gather blackberries. But Peter enters the garden to snack on some vegetables. Peter ends up eating more than what is good for him and goes looking for parsley to cure his stomachache. Well, all this is perfectly natural so far. It makes sense. Parsley is, I believe that is what parsley is used for. Peter is spotted by Mr. McGregor and loses his jacket and shoes while trying to escape. And then Mr. McGregor says, anthropomorphic rabbits? This is Unparalleled. Get me the scientist on the phone. There's a rabbit eating a vegetable. He's wearing shoes. And listen, I think these rabbits have evolved. I think they're at our level now. I think we got a serious problem here. Call the military. Okay. Loses his jacket and shoes while trying to escape. He hides in a watering can in a shed, but then has to run away again when Mr. McGregor finds him and ends up completely lost. After sneaking past a cat, Peter sees the gate where he entered the garden from a distance and heads for it, despite being spotted and chased by Mr. McGregor again. With difficulty, he wriggles under the gate and escapes from the garden, but he spots his abandoned clothing being used to dress Mr. McGregor's scarecrow for crows and other pesky critters. So, Mr. McGregor, let me see if I can get this straight. You discovered an anthropomorphic rabbit, and instead of calling the Bureau of Science, you took his clothes and you dressed the scarecrow with it.
Well, a scarecrow's not going to dress itself. You expect me to go out and buy clothes for the scarecrow? And then I saw this little rabbit had a coat on the rabbit. It was a scarecrow.
After returning home, a sick Peter is bedridden by his mother. His mother wonders where Peter's clothes are. She is very cross at Peter for going into Mr. McGregor's garden and losing his jacket and shoes. It is revealed that it was the second little jacket and pair of shoes Peter lost in a fortnight. She also takes note that he was not feeling too well and deduces that he had definitely been to Mr. McGregor's garden. To cure his stomachache, Mrs. Rabbit gives him chamomile tea, which is revealed to be the 1 teaspoon, and gives a dose of it to Peter. Peter's little sisters, Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, meanwhile, receive a scrumptious dinner of milk, bread, and blackberries. However, only Mr. McGregor knew where Peter's clothes were, as they were used to frighten the crows like a scarecrow. So I think this is the moral of the story: is don't steal things because you'll do what you're told. I feel like, is that the moral of the story? Do what you're told? Because the other kids did as they were told, they got a nice dinner, and Peter Rabbit was too sick, so he did not get a nice dinner. And I feel like this is just how you train the proletariat to do what they're told, and they will get rewarded. I want this book to be rewritten by Jean-Paul Sartre. And I think how it would go, pretty much exactly the same, except when he's home with the stomachache, and his mother's saying, well, see what happened. This is what happens when you don't do as you're told. And then Mr. McGregor catches Flopsy, Mopsy, and Popsy, and anyway, and eats them, and then eats the mother, and Peter Rabbit is the only one left. And Peter Rabbit realizes that whether you're a good person or not a good person, there is no justice and there is no God. And the universe is literally hostile and indifferent. If anything, the fact that he had the stomachache and he was, hidden away in his hole, that's kind of what saved him from the farmer. So he spends the rest of his life not only having stomach problems because he overate, but feeling guilty because his decisions led to a chain of events that caused potentially the massacres of his entire family. And it ends with him working a job he's not too fond of, and just being bitter and trying to write a novel, but it just never quite gets off the ground. That's where I think this should go. So how did they turn this into a movie? Well, let's find out. What's the plot of the original of the movie Peter Rabbit? Not to be confused with Peter Cottontail. Meanwhile, in London, McGregor's grandnephew Thomas, an uptight, controlling workaholic, works in the toy department of Harrods, where he waits for a promotion to associate general manager. Peter, his family, and friends use their tricks to force the couple out of the house, allowing Thomas to move back in while keeping their deposit. Thomas and Bee resume their relationship, and he allows the wildlife to take food from the garden within reason. Well, I mean, they had to. You have to add something. And it all seems like a logical way to build upon the simple story. Not how I would have tacked it. If I was making a full-length feature of Peter Rabbit, I would, I guess you could do anything. I wouldn't do the hostel in a different thing. That's not going to sell tickets. It's got to make it fun for the kids. I think if I were to expand it, I think that in order to, I think McGregor would take Peter's family hostage and say, "You need to repay me with these vegetables by midnight, or I'm going to kill your family." And in order to do that, Peter would have to go on a heist to steal vegetables, and he recruits Vin Diesel and the Fast family, and it's just another Fast and the Furious movie, but with Peter Rabbit. I think the Fast and the Furious, I think a crossover makes total sense to me. And again, I don't know why I'm not Hollywood royalty by this point. I don't know why. The morality of Peter Rabbit is really bothering me. Oh, he gets punished because he was gluttonous. I feel like Peter Rabbit would say, "Hey, we're rabbits. We don't know where our next meal is coming from. That's why I had the urge to eat whatever I needed to eat. We've gone for weeks without eating. I've seen family members starve. I have to take what I can get. We're being attacked by wild animals. There's bears and foxes. And you're telling me not to mess with the garden. Why? For some moral reason? If those vegetables had been in the wild, I would have eaten as much as I wanted to, and it wouldn't have been a problem for you. But you're saying that we have to watch what we have to watch. We can't steal from the guy's garden. The human being that's destroying the earth. We've got. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying we need to do? What, are we trying to be better than the humans? Is that what this is? How big is this rabbit if his clothes are being used on a scarecrow? That's a tiny scarecrow. Or it's a huge rabbit. It's a huge rat. It must be a man-sized rabbit if his clothes were put on the scarecrow, which means that Peter Rabbit's father, when he was made into a pie, they killed a man-sized rabbit that wore clothes and apparently could talk, which feels, it's all murder, but that really feels iffy. I feel like that rabbit family could have at the very least called the police. At the very least, there should have been a civil suit. Yeah, I caught a rabbit and made some pie. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. You mean the 6'5" rabbit that has a job and a family? Carl? Did you kill Carl and eat Carl? He's a rabbit. Yeah, I think. You're technically right, but my God, man, it's pretty intense. Don't mess with this guy's garden. You don't mess with this guy's garden. You don't do it. All right, let's back to Kalig's Velma ditches Scooby-Doo. Thank God. I hate Scooby-Doo so much. Mindy Kaling and HBO Max are developing an animated series about the character Velma. Adult-focused origin story. The show apparently reimagined Velma as a character of East Asian descent, but more importantly, there is no dog and no van in the series, suggesting Scooby-Doo won't be included as a character. He does say we have our 4 key characters through a different lens in the show, and it's very important that the studio allow our creators to play with our IP. Great! I hate the dog. I hate Scooby-Doo so much. I hate Scooby-Doo. I hate the dog. I hate Shaggy. Yes, finally someone has come along and said, I don't think they need to be there to tell the story. You imagine. I mean, they serve no purpose. They just get scared. They just get scared. I can look in the mirror and get the same thing as watching Scooby-Doo. That's fantastic. Though, there's no though. That's perfect. Thank you. Everything about that sounds right. Everything about that sounds right. I love it. I'll be there. Future of Clarice now in serious doubt. Uh-oh. The high concept series Clarice was going to move to Paramount Plus, but now negotiations have reached a stalemate. Negotiations have come to a stalemate. They walked out at TV negotiations. We just can't agree. Technically, a state of war exists between Paramount Plus and the producers of Clarice. Tanks will be involved. They keep going back to Silence of the Lambs. How many Hannibal series, Hannibal movies? Now they're going to do Clarice. They just keep, as much as possible, going back to that Silence of the Lambs. I wouldn't be surprised if they have a show about one of the lambs. It wasn't even seen, but just mentioned. Yeah, it's a show. It's in the Silence of the Lambs universe. It's about a lamb that solves murders. It's called The Lambs Will No Longer Be Silenced. We're very excited about it. The main character's name is Barbara. Perfection. Perfection has a name, and that name is Silence of the Lambs. Okay, well, hopefully they'll figure that out. Ooh, a Castlevania spinoff. Which I think is, Castlevania, which I think the original game, the main character was Simon Belmont, who's fighting Dracula, right? Right? I don't know why it was called Castlevania. Let's look up Castlevania. Let's see what's going on. Castlevania. What's going on with Castlevania? An action-adventure gothic horror video game series. All right, I just want the first one. Let's start with Castlevania. Players control Simon Belmont, descendant of a legendary vampire hunter. who enters the castle of Count Dracula to destroy him when he suddenly reappears 100 years after Simon's ancestor vanquished him. Well, it sounds like he didn't vanquish him then, if he appears 100 years later. Yep, Count Dracula. Always a tough one there. Always a tough one there. Count Dracula. In Castlevania. And Simon Belmont. It's a good name. Simon Belmont. Very British, very upper crust sounding name. It sounds like the name of a vampire hunter, Simon Belmont. Abraham Van Helsing. There's drama in those names. Can't be called Bob Gunderson. He's a vampire hunter. He knows only cold. He knows only the cold sense of death. Rarely does a smile creep across his face. He wanders the earth, hunting vampires. Few know his name, but those who do know him as Bill Gunderson. See, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Simon Belmont, that works. Simon works just barely. But definitely Belmont. Belmont. That's fine. That one works. Bill Gunderson, not so much. If I had to choose between a vampire hunter named Simon Belmont and Bill Gunderson, I'd probably go with Simon Belmont, which is, you know what? Short-sighted on my part. I can't judge somebody by their name. What am I talking about? What a horrible thing to do. What a horrible way to treat people. Judge them by their name. Still, though, Bill Gunderson, Vampire Hunter, it's a comedy. It can't be a serious film. Joshua Snyder, Vampire Hunter, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. Not feeling that. I've always struggled feeling okay with how my last name sounds. It's very nasal. Snyder. And I feel like the emotion attached to that name is kind of the emotion of just shrugging and smile. That's Snyder, you know. Did he defeat the vampire? No, he fell and broke his ankle, actually. That's Snyder. Yeah. Did he stop Dracula from raining terror across the land? No. His car got a flat tire. Snyder. Snyder. You think there was ever a descendant of a vampire hunter who just wanted to go into the arts and didn't go into vampire hunting, and even though vampires were wreaking havoc, other artistic folks were like, you know what, you followed your dreams, and that's what's important. Now, I didn't want to be a vampire hunter like my dad. I wanted to paint. I wanted to do abstract painting. So I had to forge my own path. And now I'm the most successful painter in the world because there's only 5 of us left. The vampires have killed everyone else, and they're not all painters. So everything worked out. It all worked out in the end. While we're in hiding, I show them my paintings, and they're like, "Oh, that's nice." I think we have to hide. I think we can't talk now. I think they can hear us outside. You're sure your grandfather didn't teach you anything about stopping Dracula? Maybe he did. But he didn't speak to me like Jackson Pollock did. Could you maybe defeat the vampire and then go back to painting? No. I'm dedicating 100% of my artistic life to painting. Period. No compromises. I'm not getting a day job. It's not a day job, man. There's only 5 of us left. We need help. All right, that was... More Portman join Haynes May. Family drama May-December. The story begins 20 years after a notorious tabloid romance between Gracie Atherton Yu and her husband Joe, and as their twins are set to graduate from high school. When Hollywood actress Elizabeth Berry spends time with the family to better understand Gracie, who she will be playing in a film, family dynamics unravel under the pressure of the outside gaze. Yeah, there's no spaceship in it, so I don't know what to say. If the whole thing took place on a spaceship, maybe I'd watch it. I think I would watch, depending on the spaceship. Depending on the spaceship. The story follows... Okay, so there's a new show on Netflix, The Cuphead Show. A unique misadventure of the impulsive Cuphead and his cautious but easily swayed brother Mugman. I know nothing about this game, and this looks to be a comedy of some kind, animated in the Max Fleischer style. All right, that's fine. I have nothing to add to this. This Wayne Brady, very talented person. This should be good, right? This will probably do well. Inspired by the Max Fleischer cartoons of the 30s, right? That's what they're saying. The classic 1930s Max Fleischer cartoons. Yes, the 1930s. What a time to go back to. Fond memories of the 1930s. Great Depression, war, Nazism. Ah, yes, the 1930s. Quality decade. Yeah, a lot of fun on that decade. A lot of fun. We seem to be following suit. The 2020s are going to give the 30s a run for its money. We'll see you in Rays. Yeah, all right. I got nothing here. Amazon's Jack Reacher series adds 6. So, this is a book series that Tom Cruise made into, I think, 2 movies, and now they're doing a series. And they're calling it Reacher, not to be confused with Jack Reacher. The working title was going to be Jack Reacher, and then in parentheses, not the Tom Cruise one, this new one that is not Tom Cruise but is good. And then they said we just call it Reacher. Just call it Reacher, all right? Just call it Reacher. Don't give it any fancy schman. All right, I got to look this up. What is going on with Jack Reacher? It's a compelling character. People like the novels. There's something about the novels. Jack Reacher. A fictional character and the protagonist of a series of crime thriller novels by British author Lee Child. After leaving the U.S. Army as a major, Reacher roams the United States, taking odd jobs and investigating suspicious and frequently dangerous situations. Yeah, 2 movies. Jack Reacher and Jack Reacher 2, Reaching for More. Yeah. That should have been the title of the sequel. Reaching for More. Reaching for More. So okay, he just goes around helping people. I got it. Army Ranger. Makes sense. Equipped for this. It makes sense. You know who's not equipped? A theater major that goes around helping people with their problems. I understand you all are threatening this helpless family, trying to get them to leave the land so that you can develop it. I'm not going to let you do that. I'm going to stand right here and put on a protest play with a chorus reading spoken word tetrameter. So I hope you enjoy our production of Don't Take Away the Land. We are setting this story in ancient Rome so that in a Brechtian fashion we can create alienation. So you're not getting that it's you that we're talking about consciously, but unconsciously you will cause an awakening when you watch our play called Get Off of Our Land. Or Don't Get Off of Our Land. That's the name of the play. Don't Get Off of Our Land. We're going to begin with a song. Get off of our land. We own this land. Our ancestors own this land. Our ancestors' ancestors own this land. Our ancestors' 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 ancestors killed people to take this land. It's our land now. I totally lost what I was saying and what I was talking about. I totally lost it. I have what was I just even? I got so carried away by the drama of that song. Oh, that's right. Theater major trying to stop people from stealing the land. Nightwing movie still a possibility. Oh, well, let's read this. Nightwing. I don't know. Nightwing. Nightwing, really? Are you tired of the complex brooding of Batman? Would you like to take Robin, a character that we kind of tolerate, and see what happens when he grows up and he becomes a less angry but still mildly jaded, but probably much more emotionally stable version of Batman who adopts the mantle of, I guess, any bird? Well, then come on down and see Nightwing. I dress like a bat because criminals are afraid of bats. I dress like a wing because people are freaked out by just the wing. I had some wings and they were very good. I was inspired I mean, I was Robin, but now I'm Nightwing. So Nightwing is kind of a takeoff of Robin. That's what I am. He's explaining this to the bad guy. What is Nightwing? Well, I was Robin. Now I'm Nightwing. So it's like I'm a darker version of Robin. Like I'm, yeah. You're a darker version of Robin. Yes. Hence Nightwing. Why not just call yourself Dark Robin? Because Dark Robin doesn't sound... Because a Robin is never... You're never going to take a Robin seriously. So I wanted to, keep the essence of the Robin, the wing part of it. What about Nightbeak? No, Nightbeak doesn't sound... No, it can't be Nightbeak. Nightwing sounds much better. Nightfeather? No! Nightwing. Nightwing sounds the coolest. Nightwing. That's what I'm Nightwing. I was Robin, now I'm Nightwing. Who's Robin? What do you mean, who's Robin? I was Batman's sidekick. And now I'm Nightwing. Are you still Batman's sidekick? No! Well, sometimes he'll ask... Well, he won't ask for help, but I'll just kind of tag along because we have some unresolved issues, and I'll help. I'm kind of still a sidekick, but I mean only because he needs it. He's getting older, and I want to be there to help. Right? I'm Nightwing. Yeah, I don't know. I just what's his thing? He fights with the sticks. What does that have to do with a Robin? Well, Robin, when they build a nest, they have sticks that they use to build a nest. So these are 2 sticks. I shouldn't have gone with Robin. I should have gone with, Hawk or Talon or something. But now I'm... Let's see. Far Cry adult anime series ordered by the streamer. And Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon remix. Captain Laserhawk. I like that name. I don't know anything about the character, but I like Laserhawk. I like the concept of a Laserhawk. A hawk that fires lasers? What could be better? Why can't you call yourself Captain Laserhawk? I'm Nightwing, all right? I'm not changing it. I already have the web domain. I bought the nightwing.com, nightwing.net, and nightwing.org. I'm not going to call myself Captain Laserhawk. What about Captain Laser Robin? Shut up. All right? Shut up. I'm not Captain Laser Robin. Captain Laser Hummingbird? No. All right. Well, all right. I gotta look up Far Cry now. This is just you're just listening to me Wikipedia stuff. First-person shooter game series. Okay. Set in a mysterious tropical archipelago, Far Cry follows Jack Carver, a former American Special Forces operative. So Jack Reacher? Is that... Are you kidding me? I think... Does Jack Reacher know about Jack Carver? I'm Jack Reacher, a former Army Ranger. I go around helping people. I'm Jack Carver, a former American Special Forces operator. I go around helping people. Let's have a competition. You mean a jack-off? We can't. No, we can't. We can't call it that, Jack. We can't. We'll get letters. We'll get letters. Oh, man. Oh. Well, I'm having fun. I don't know if you are. A former American Special Forces operative as he searched for a journalist who went missing shortly after their boat was destroyed by mercenaries. As he explores the island, he begins to discover horrific genetic experiments being conducted on the local wildlife and must confront a mad scientist behind them. So, Island of Dr. Moreau meets Jack Reacher. Jack Carver left his mysterious and bitter past behind him. I feel like these characters, they're in the Special Forces, they're in the Army, there's a bloody and violent past, they want to leave it behind them. Has there ever been a heroic Army Ranger who was like, no, the Army was great, killed bad guys, had fun, it was fantastic. Fantastic. Killed indiscriminately. And it was a pleasure. Excuse me, are you Jack Carver? Jack Reacher. I'm sorry. That must happen all the time. I was looking for Jack Carver. I have a job. I need a disgruntled former soldier to help me save a family from getting their land taken from them. I can help with that. No. It's specifically Army Ranger. I know you're Special Forces, but I need more of a Jack Reacher. He's hired by a woman named Valerie Constantine. That's a cool name. I'm Valerie Constantine. Naturally, I live an exciting and adventurous life. After Val takes off on her own with a jet ski, Jack's boat is blown apart by a rocket. With the help of a man named Doyle, Jack travels across various islands, battling mysterious mercenaries in search of Val. Through encounters with tigrans, genetically altered beasts, and information from Doyle, Jack soon discovers that the island is part of an experiment involving genetic modification funded by the genetic company Krieger Corp. And led by its CEO, Dr. Krieger. Dr. Krieger. Mad scientist, CEO of Krieger Corp. The fact that he's a mad scientist and a CEO, because I would imagine the CEO, you got to go to board meetings. A lot of CEO things that have to be done. He's able to do that and be a mad scientist. Gentlemen, I'm sorry I'm late for the quarterly report meeting. I was just splicing a tiger with a tank, and the genetic splicing and the cybernetics, all that was easy. We're just having trouble coming up with a name. Do we just call it Tiger Tank? Do we call it Tank Tiger? Do we call it Tank-Ger? I like Tank-Ger. Bill, what do you think? Tank-Ger. Won't people just think it's Tanker? No, it's Tank-Ger. Tank-Ger. What if he has to refill? Then Tank-Ger will go to the tanker. See? It's not that complicated. Tank-Ger. Yeah, I feel productive about this meeting. Sir, the meeting was, sir, you spent all of our money on developing the Tank-Ger, and we're bankrupt. Well, don't worry. The Tank-Ger is going to make our money back for us. It's half tiger, half tank. I'm not entirely sure how that works, sir. Well, in fact, we're getting reports on the field tests, and they're not looking good. Why? Well, sir, it appears as if you made the tank the head, and you put it on the body of a tiger. And, well, sir, the tank is too heavy for the tiger to maneuver. And if the tank just starts rolling, then, well, the body of the tiger just is dragged across the ground. Sir, we think it would have been, we think it would have been better if you had put, at the very least, the head of the tiger attached to the tank on top, basically with the tank, with a tiger head, and the head of the tiger, the brain of the tiger would control the tank. That's what we thought you were going to do when you said you wanted to do this. We should have we recognize that we should have asked specifically which part was going to be Tiger and which part was going to be Tank. But, sir, it's a tank with a dead tiger body hanging off of it, sir. It's really more just a tank. We could just remove the tiger body at any point. $70 billion. $70 billion for this. So they stapled the body of a tiger to the tank. They stapled it. Sir, I think you stapled the body of a tiger to a tank. How did that cost $70 billion? Where is the money? Where is the money? Oh, man. 56 minutes? You mean an hour podcast that's actually close to an hour? Are you kidding me? I don't know if any of this is usable. I don't know what to do with this podcast. I don't know what you should do with this podcast. But if you enjoy it, if it warms the cockles of your heart, send it to people. Tell people about it. Nerdy Virgin Podcast. Also, first live show at Flappers, Sunday, June 20th, Father's Day, 5 p.m., nerd-themed comedy show. Fully expecting to do jokes about Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Should be a lot of fun. Hope to see you there. Well, I feel better. You know what? You're witnessing me trying to make myself feel better. That's all I can do, man. That's all I can do.